What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Got a standard Brawl list for you. This one we're taking a look at Simic colors using Zegana, Utopian Speaker, as our commander. Zegana is a 4-mana 4/4 legendary merfolk wizard. And when it enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. You can pay 6 mana to adapt 4. So adapt 4 means you just put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. Excuse me. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So you spend 6 mana to adapt it. You make it an 8/8 with trample. That's pretty fantastic creature. And so we're kind of choosing to go a proliferate strategy. And of course, Simic has plenty of cards that work well with that by putting counters on them. And of course, there are several cards that say proliferate on them specifically. So yeah, let's go over the list real quick and just kind of see exactly what we're trying to do here. So we do need some interaction. So we have some cards like Unsummon. Obviously, Simic doesn't have great removal, so the best thing you can do really is probably Tempo. So just kind of bounce whatever the biggest threat or most expensive card creature back to your opponent's hand. And of course, the nice thing about Unsummon is you can target your own creature, so you can kind of put it back into your hand and protect it from removal. Ozwith, of course, works fantastic with any counter-based strategy, as far as permanents with counters on them. Because when at the beginning of your combat, you can move any number of counters from Ozwith onto a target creature, and if a creature leaves the battlefield with counters on it, you get to put the counters on the Ozwith. So if they kill one of your creatures that had counters on it, they go to the Ozwith. You go to your combat at some point later on, then you get to put those counters on another creature, so you don't entirely lose them. So you can have some pretty beefy creatures, and especially with like a Zegana. Having trample, it's pretty sweet value right there. Callous Dismissal, another way for us to kind of tempo our opponent, also making a 1/1 creature, but of course it's a 0/0 with a +1/+1 counter on it, so it fits in perfectly with our proliferate strategy. Contentious Plan, here we go. Sorcery speed, 2 mana, proliferate, and draw a card. So proliferate just means when you cast that spell, you get if anything that has a counter on it, you can choose to put an additional counter of that kind on it. Lazotep Planting, the same thing, amass 1, and you and permanents you control gain hexproof until end of turn. So this gives us some protection on our creatures. Tail's End works really well in the Brawl format. It's definitely something that I look to include in all of my blue-based decks, as we can counter our opponent's commander. And there's plenty of activated and triggered abilities that are relevant as well. And of course, being a singleton format, there can be plenty of other legendary spells, planeswalkers, or creatures that you want to counter as well. Barkhide Troll is a nice, the double green is a little bit tricky in a 2-card deck, of course. However, it does come down with a +1/+1 counter on it, and as long as it has a counter on it, it has hexproof. So it just works really well with our strategy. Incubation Druid does have adapt as well. Otherwise, it's just a 0/2 that taps for 1 mana of any color. You adapt it for 3, so it becomes a 3/5, and also then it taps for 3 mana of any one color as well. So Ironshell Beetle also works great here. It's a 1/1 for 2, and when it enters, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Paradise Druid, another way for us to just get some fixing and ramp. It's nice because it can tap for 1 mana of any color. So if we kept a little bit of a sketchy hand, we got 2 forests and we got a blue spell we need to play. Maybe something that lets us draw a card. We can just keep it, play a Paradise Druid, and then we can tap for blue mana. Pollenbright Druid, of course, another way for us to proliferate and also put counters on creatures. So it's kind of like the Ironshell Beetle, but only better. Merfolk Skydiver is a 1/1 flyer for 2 mana. When it enters, you get a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. And then you can play 5 mana into proliferate. So that's fantastic here in the late game. Brazen Borrower, of course, for the tempo plays, returning any non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and then having a 3/1 flyer works fantastic. Stealth Mission, of course, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, and that creature can't be blocked this turn. So we do have some creatures that get pretty beefy, and then you can just drop Stealth Mission and make that creature unblockable with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Maybe you have an Ozwith out as well that has counters on it, and you can just make your creatures swing in for a ton of damage and close out the game. Corrosion Crisis lets you put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature and then proliferate. That's pretty sweet. Evolution Sage, whenever a land enters the battlefield, you proliferate. So you don't even have to play it from your hand, just anytime it enters. We're not really running any ramp spells since the deck list is pretty tight. Otherwise, it is just a 3/2, so that's not bad either. Hydra's Growth, of course, is an all-star in this kind of a deck. When it enters the battlefield, we'll put a +1 counter on enchanted creature, and if you get upkeep, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on enchanted creatures. So we have some nice trample effects. Obviously, we just went over the stealth mission where you can make your creatures unblockable. So if you get a Hydra's Growth down on one of your creatures, man, you can do some crazy stuff. First, Iroan games, you get a 1/1 human soldier creature token when it comes down, and the following chapter, your following turn, you get 3 +1/+1 counters on the creature you control. And then if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you get to draw 2 cards, and then you get to make a gold token. So four of these phases work fantastic in our Brawl list. Primal Empathy is another interesting card here. It's an enchantment for 3 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. So this works great for us either way. We have some creatures that obviously get pretty big with all these counters. Hydra's Growth being a great example of that. Zegana, of course, being able to adapt and become an 8/8. And then if you don't have a creature that's the biggest, then you get to put a +1 counter on the creature you control. So either way, it's a win-win card. It's a nice piece of card advantage, or a way to put counters to help you, of course, proliferate. Spark Double, of course, comes in as a copy of any creature on the battlefield or planeswalker that you control, of course, and comes in with additional +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature. So fits fantastic with our proliferation strategy. And Mowu, 3/3 Vigilance Trample for 4 mana. However, if 1 or more +1/+1 counters we put on Mowu, put that many +1 counters. So if you get 2 +1/+1 counters on it, you get 3 instead. So that obviously works great with Hydra's Growth. Evolution Sage is pretty insane. Like Mowu is just all-star here, and then the Vigilance as well. So you can just attack into it with no consequence. Questing Beast is just kind of a necessary evil here to help you deal with planeswalkers. Also helps you be more aggressive. Just being able to attack in 4/4 Vigilance, Death Chased, and of course it just has a million abilities that it probably shouldn't have. Renata, Call to the Hunt. So we are a Simic based list, but we're kind of leaning towards green, so Renata actually works pretty well, as it's a 4 mana 0/3. However, her power is equal to our devotion to green. Of course, she has 2 green pips, she'll at least be a 2/3. And each other creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So that alone is worth playing it here in this list. Vivien, of course, 4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker. Distribute 2 +1 counters on creatures you control, and they gain trample until end of turn. So that's the sweet thing, is we have plenty of ways to give our creatures trample. So in addition to buffing them up with a bunch of counters and making them much bigger, Vivien also gives them trample. And then, of course, with those big beefy creatures you already have on the battlefield, you can -3 to fight, or not fight, but actually just deal damage to a creature or planeswalker on your opponent's side. So just a great flexible spell here. Sharkdo Crab, another personal favorite of mine, 4 mana 4/4, pay 4 mana to adapt 1. However, whenever 1 or more counters are put on Sharkdo Crab, tap target creature and opponent controls, and that creature does not untap during their next untap phase. So that's pretty fantastic. And we have plenty of ways to abuse the Sharkdo Crab here. Biogenic Ooze is a nice sort of a meme card in a counter-based list. It's a 5 mana 2/2. However, it makes a 2/2 Ooze token when it enters the battlefield. So for 5 mana, you get 2 2/2 power, 2 2/2 creatures on the battlefield, and then at each of your end steps, you get a +1 counter on each Ooze you control. And it's a great mana sink, because you can pay 4 mana to create additional 2/2 Ooze. So if you get into a board stall, this works fantastic to just go wide, and then just let your Ooze get bigger and bigger and bigger until you can just overwhelm your opponent. Ironscale Hydra, 5 mana 5/5. However, if a creature would deal combat damage to Ironscale Hydra, prevent that damage, and put a +1/+1 counter on Ironscale Hydra. This can be fantastic, so that you can just pretty much block anything, because that damage is prevented, and then you get to put a +1 counter on it. And then Trollbed Guardian is a 5 mana 5/5. It's only 3 mana to adapt to, so that's a pretty decent rate. And each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So it's exactly the same as Zegana in that regard. We have the Galloping Lizrog. It's a 5 mana 3/3 with trample, so it's not great. However, when it enters the battlefield, you may remove any number of +1 counters on creatures you control. And if you do, put twice that many +1/+1 counters on Galloping Lizrog. So with the trample and all the other counters we have in play, if we want to, we can just take those counters off, put it on the Lizrog, and then just swing in for lethal on the following turn, because it's just going to be huge with trample. And let's have Roelesque Apex Hybrid. It's a 5 mana 4/5 flying trample. When it enters the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. And when it dies, proliferate, then proliferate again. So Royal Ask is another amazing option here. And we also got Biogenic Upgrade. It's a 6-mana sorcery. You distribute 3+1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures. Then you double the number of those +1 counters on each of those creatures. So that's pretty amazing. We can do some pretty stupid stuff with this card in certain situations. Great henge, man, it's a great card value engine. And when non-token creatures enter the battlefield under your control, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on them and draw a card. And you add for double green and gain 2 life. And we have tons of powerful creatures that can reduce the cost of this as well. Stone Cold Serpent, of course, is All-Star. X mana, reach, trample, protection multicolored, enters with X +1/+1 counters on it. Voracious Hydra, another great option here as a way for us to kind of fight creatures on an opponent's side, or just make a really big trampling dude. 0/1 trample for X green. When enters, you can choose to double the number of counters on it, or fight a target creature you don't control. And then Hydra Grace is just another kind of a necessary evil, as it's just a busted card. Going over the mana base here, so we are mostly green, so we're running 6 islands, the 1 castle Garenbrig, 9 forest, Breeding Pool, Guildgate, the Temple, Thornwood Falls, and lots of big creatures. So we're running the Bonders Enclave, so we can potentially pay 3 mana to draw a card, as long as we have a creature with power 4 or greater. Command Tower, of course, is a must in any multicolored Brawl list. Fabled Passage for some fixing, and Karn's Bastion. Since we're in a Proliferate list, let's run the Karn's Bastion against Athreus. M. Huerta. So it's a little sketchy. Maybe we have the Tail's End that can counter the Athreus. We can draw a card just to draw a card. But it's pretty sketchy. Almost the same hand with the Beast and the Henge. I'll try to find some more lands, or maybe early threat. Yeah, Incubation Druid is fine. Last turn 3 Questing Beast. Opponent with a nice fast start with the Vampire on turn 1. We got the turn 3 Questing Beast, so hey. And next turn we can Great Henge unless they kill our Beast. Grim Dancer. Death Touch. Let's just drop the Henge. Do we want to trade here? Oh, we'll hold it. We've got some life gain. They're curving out nicely so far. Hopefully they slow down so they don't get the Athreus on curve. Smothering Tithe, everyone's favorite overrated card. I guess that fits into a Brawl list. So we'll gain some life. I don't care about, you can have all the treasure tokens you want to. I don't care. So we've got Krasis for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for 6. Now let's just do that, try to put some pressure on them. And I think we attack now before they get their Athreus down. We get the Tail's End, but it looks like it's going to be too late. We can Callous Dismissal and then Tail's End it. That's a lot of resources though. They have all the mana in the world now thanks to that Smothering Tithe. Elspeth Conquers Death. Take out our Henge. Okay. I mean, we have a million cards already, so. Yeah, you got it. Hit me for 1. We can swing at them for 7 now, unless they have. Wow, a Ketra. I just decline on principle every time. I think that card's just kind of silly. So we can Hydra's Growth our Crisis and hope we can keep it alive. And we have lethal next turn, but we don't really have. Okay, sacrifice, no problem. That's it. You got it, buddy. Select Paradise Druid. Gain a bunch of counters. What do I want to do here? They have 1 token. I think we actually want to pay in case they do have something here. So we can Fabled Passage. Let's grab a land, and then we have Stealth Mission, right? There we go. We are 1 short of lethal. That cat saved their life. That's brutal. That's brutal. Okay, they get their cat back just to gain a life. That's interesting. Whew, they do not have removal for Crisis. That was close. Wow. Alright, against Amara. Oh, Kaplansky. We're missing blue, but not too worried about that. Have a nice Druid. I think I'll try it. It's a little sketchy, but we'll try it. Right on cue. Temple of Mystery. See, I knew it. We will need some interaction, so yeah, we'll keep the unsummon. But I think we're just gonna get the Druid down and start getting our creatures. Hero. Alright. So we'll put a +1 counter on the Druid. I think we actually value our creature more than we want to get rid of the hero, so if they attack for some reason, which I doubt they will, I doubt they want to risk it here. So that tells us they're running a pretty good density of multicolored spells like Knight of Autumn, Conclave Cavalier, Tristani, probably March. Would fit fantastic with hero. Alright, we don't have anything to do here on 3. Could hold open Tail's End. What could they cast on 3 that's legendary? Not much. I think we'll actually just Contentious Plan here to keep digging. No attacks. I'm fine with just kind of holding back a little bit and trying to get set up some more. So it looks like we're Renata into Iron Scale. And then just hope we have the Tail's End when we need it. Okay, Bishop of Wings. So our opponent kind of showing off a multitude of strategies here. Next turn we can Ironshell Hydra, and the following turn we'll have Zegana, and then hold open Tail's End. Terranika, that would have been a nice window, Tail's End. Can make their tokens indestructible. Vivien's pretty cool though. So I think we just want to go to Terranika, because that's going to be pretty nasty. They could kill if they tried to attack in, but they don't have good attacks. So let's get rid of you. We have the unsummon, so a little bit of protection here.
We're gonna tear you apart.
Still don't have good attacks, so we'll just play it slow and just try to build up a board state, get a bunch of counters on stuff, and see if we can overpower our opponent here in the late game. But they might just go too wide for us. We'll see. No Castle Ardenvale or anything like that. There's the Conclave. So we'll see what they attack. This unsummon looks pretty medium because they're going to keep it in value. But we don't have a way to deal with it. Let's just bounce it back and just force them to replay it next turn. I think I just want to get the Hydra out. Just more of a deterrent for them to not attack in. I'm not sure what that pause is about. They're tapped out, but they were kind of looking at their creatures. So they have some kind of an instant speed convoke spell. Not really too much that I'm aware of that convokes that instant speed.
We're fit enough to survive.
Except for March of the Multitudes, and that's not very good March right now. We'll just keep let's keep pulling back and try to build up our board state. So we drawing a few too many lands here. Okay, just replace Cavalier and go. Wow, Sparked Up was pretty interesting. We are one short of doing both. Copy Renata or the Ironshell Hydra. It's pretty interesting. Could copy Vivien and fight something. We probably should get rid of this hero, but we also need more creatures out. Let's make these guys a little bit bigger. And let's actually spark double the Druid. And proliferate. It's a pretty decent board state. Do we attack in with the Ironshell? I'm gonna start putting pressure on them. So unfortunately we're still stuck on blue mana. And they take 8. Alright. It's definitely gonna be an interesting game. We still have plenty of cards in hand too, that's kinda crazy. Johnny. Wow, that's gonna pump up their creatures pretty nicely. I'm not sure we can deal with a few turns of them doing that. Fortunately, our Simic list does not handle that kind of stuff very well. Now we're kind of forced to -3 and get rid of Johnny. I'm not sure what all these pauses are for, like they have some kind of a answer. Draw a card. So we can make one of our creatures unblockable, but we're a little bit shy of lethal. Next turn, maybe. We can put 2 counters on Renata. It would be 15. And that would be 16, 17. So if they don't have a way to gain life and they don't kill us this turn, we could have it next turn. But we'll see. So 5 mana. Do nothing. Wow. So 2 + 1 counters, that'd be 15. And 2 more, okay, so that's 17. So we're 1 off of lethal. So let's Primal Empathy. And plus Vivien. Oh yes, Renata. That does count towards Devotion. Let's put them there. And we'll see if they have the answer.
This'll be fun to watch.
See if they have a way to survive this. Whew. Wow. Oh man, Primal Empathy was just what we needed there. Alright. So yeah, that Simic does not handle go wide strategies very well, but obviously we do have the some nice powerful creatures that can kind of slow down your opponent, and if you can just kind of slow them down long enough to build up your board state, then you can kind of get through, especially if we Zegana had trample, and of course Vivien can kind of give a couple creatures trample when she does her +1. So yeah, Simic obviously is pretty light on removal in general, so it's definitely, it needs to be played more as a tempo deck and just look for ways to attack in any chance you get. Thundering Chariot, sweet. Yeah, so just kind of a fun little list to play around with. Proliferate is a strategy that I've kind of tried before, and Zegana is a perfect commander for that. Not really somebody you come across very often. And yeah, I had a ton of fun playing this little Simic brew. So let me know what you guys think, what you guys are running, anything that you would have done differently here in this list. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.